Raiders news that I have for the nation is actually going to put a smile on your face, which I have not been able to say very often this season. We're going to get into some of the discussions around the quarterbacks. We're going to get into the discussion about the 2025 NFL Draft. But the big news here, which maybe a lot of y'all are clicking in this video, Michael Mayer, he returned to practice today for the Silver and Black. He's been away from the team since week 3 due to personal reasons. And I'll tell you this, I have not seen in my years of covering the NFL, we're getting close to 10 years now, I have not seen a player be able to go away from his team for as long as what he was without any information whatsoever. Raiders didn't release any info. Schefter, Rappaport, no information has been released in regards to what the personal matter was around Michael Mayer. But the reason why you should subscribe to the Raiders Report is because when news happens, we got you covered. Michael Mayer is back. Now let's see if Scott Turner can actually get this guy incorporated in our offense here a little bit. Let's go to some other good news here around the Raiders. According to Vic Tafur from The Athletic, the Raiders are expected to make a change to Desmond Ridder, and he is expected to be the new starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. Minshew has been benched 3 times this season. Quite frankly, he could have been benched every time he walked out onto the field, minus the Baltimore game. And even though Antonio Pierce hasn't officially named a starting quarterback yet, he said last week that he was going to take his time, sit down, think about the decision. And because the because the news on Mayer literally just came out, it wouldn't surprise me if in the next few minutes, in the next few hours, if the information regarding Desmond Ridder being the Raiders starting quarterback is released, because this has been something that we've all been kind of leading to. Like when you fire Luke Getsy, when you fire your coaching staff, and then you kind of bring in a new quarterback, it's expected there's going to be a little bit of a change. And if you're not going to do it at the bye week, then when the hell are you going to do it? So when you see the quote here from Tafur on Ridder starting, this is the exact quote. The quarterback play has been terrible, and the Raiders are expected to make the change to Desmond Ridder after Gardner Minshew was benched for a 3rd time this season. So you got Vic coming out saying that it's going to be Desmond Ridder. I've been begging the Raiders for weeks to go with Desmond Ridder. So here's your opportunity to be honest with me, be honest with the entire nation. This is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. You're about to get it with a YouTube ad break. I want you to scroll on down and give me your answer. Yes or no, should the Raiders start Desmond Ridder? Yeah, why the hell not? Like, if we were in a season where we're right in the thick of things, trying to get a playoff win, trying to get a playoff seeding, then, maybe not, maybe you could. I will admit, there is a part of me that wonders, does it make sense to go with Gardner Minshew? Because Gardner Minshew with Luke Getsy looks totally different than Gardner Minshew than any time he's ever had any other head coach or offensive coordinator. But I do say this, it's time to go with Desmond Ridder because Desmond Ridder is a better fit with this new Scott Turner offense, some of the RPOs that you're going to see, his ability to use his legs, his ability to just honestly have confidence in himself. And I made a video earlier last week about the Raiders having a tough decision to make. And I said, I hope that Antonio Pierce watches this show because I said, I'm going to go with Desmond Ridder over Gardner Minshew. But here's the thing. If you're subscribed, if you're a real one, you already know I made this video 2 weeks ago. What do we have to lose? Let's roll with Desmond Ridder. Let's see what we got. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve, if you want to know more about the Raiders than your friends, if you want to know information around the Silver and Black before 99% of all Raider fans out there, hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications because I promise you this, you will not be able to find anybody that knows more about the Raiders, that knows more about the nation, that knows more of the vibe of this entire organization than this channel right here. Let's also, though, keep talking about Gardner because if they're going to roll with Desmond, that means Gardner's going to be riding the pine. And quite frankly, I don't think that you're going to see Gardner Minshew in a Raiders uniform in terms of like him starting ever again. Because you got Week 11 against Miami, you got Week 12 up against the Denver Broncos, and if I'm the Raiders, I'm starting Desmond Ridder against Denver simply because they already saw what Gardner Minshew looked like. And then when Aiden O'Connell comes back, you're probably just going to go with Aiden unless Desmond's going out there and winning some football games. But the other reason why I don't know if I really want to see Gardner Minshew this season is because, sure, these numbers are with Luke Getsy. But when you really look at how bad Minshew has been this season, compared to his entire career. And Minshew has played in 6 NFL seasons, 57 games in total. So you're telling me his touchdown percentage, sack percentage, yards gained per completion, quarterback rating, QBR is all the worst of his entire career this year? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, which is exactly why I'm saying now it is time for the Raiders to start Desmond Ridder. And based on the reports that we are getting today, based on the reports that, are kind of circulating out there for the last week or two, it does sound like the Raiders are, to use Mark Davis's words, smartening up, and they're going to start Desmond Ridder. Coming up here, more smoke around Shedeur Sanders coming to the Las Vegas Raiders. This was also the good news that I wanted to talk about today, because if you're a Raiders fan, and I don't care what you say about Shedeur, you can say what you want about Shedeur. I've said a lot of things about Shedeur too. But all I care about is getting a quarterback in the NFL draft. And if it sounds like that Shedeur wants to be a Raider, and when you see everything that I'm going to show you, it's like more and more evidence that Shedeur Sanders wants to be a Las Vegas Raider. I'll tell you all that in just a moment, but I got to show some love to our sponsor here, PrizePicks. There's the one helping us turn the lights on here, but they're also helping you put a little bit of money in your pocket. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in as little as 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. If you're like Mitch, I am sick and tired of picking more or less on the Raiders this season. I don't blame you. So let's look at MMA. John Jones. I was looking at some text messages from Max Crosby, John Jones. They're on the media, or they're on social media. It's not that I was sent them. And Max is like, hey, I'm going to be my best on Sunday. You go do your thing on Saturday as well. So guess what? I'm taking the less because John Jones is knocking somebody out. Bo Nickel, give me the more there. And Veronica Hardy. Sometimes you just got to go with the last name. And I think when you got a last name like Hardy, give me the less on that one. Shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring the Raiders Report. That link is available to everybody watching the show live. If you're not watching the show live, it is in the comments. It's in the description of today's show. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Is Shedeur Sanders coming to the Las Vegas Raiders? I'll tell you what, man. Lots and lots of smoke. If you didn't see yesterday, Shedeur gave a special little shout out to the Raiders, and he said, shout out Raiders, after he pulled up some silver and black cleats. Now, I know that I am not afraid to talk about rumors on this show. I also know that I have said where there's smoke, there's fire, maybe once or 2 times in my life. But there is a lot, and I mean, we got to be able to face the facts here. There's a lot of smoke around Shedeur, around Dion, around the Raiders potentially getting this guy right here to be the next franchise quarterback. And I know there's going to be a lot of people out there going, Mitch, they got to have a higher draft pick. We got to be in the top 5. We got to have maybe the number 1 overall pick to get Shedeur. I've said it before. If there's one person in this year's class, if there's one person since Eli Manning that can say, I'm not going there, but I want to go there, it's this guy right here. And I talked about this last week about Shedeur Sanders and him coming to the Raiders. It's loading. It's that loading bar. And it's just continuously loading and loading and loading. Because you can say, Raiders this, Shedeur that, but when other people around the NFL, when other people that are very credited, that do have a lot of sources start talking about things too, you should listen. I mean, Mel Kiper Jr. said that this on Shedeur coming to the Raiders. Sanders will obviously go early, and the Raiders should be near the top of the draft. And I think about how new minority owner Tom Brady might impact the team's draft decisions. Brady was super accurate, tough and excellent in the pocket during his playing career, which sounds a lot like the 6'2", 215-pound Sanders. It seems like a really good fit for the Raiders team that needs a young starter under center after missing out on all 6 first-round quarterbacks in 2024 class. Las Vegas has gotten mediocre play from Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell this season. It's time for a long-term fix. So then you got, Shedeur giving a shout-out to the Raiders, Mel Kiper Jr.'s comments. If you don't know how amazing Tom Brady's relationship is with Shedeur, then you haven't watched this show for very long. He has been a mentor since 2020 to Shedeur. He texts him every single game. If Tom Brady and Shedeur Sanders are texting after every single game, I mean, that just goes to show how awesome that relationship is. If you haven't seen the Brady mode tweet, Shedeur said that he was in Brady mode after a big-time comeback. I mean, the fact that these guys are working together in the offseason, and they've been working together in the offseason. Then you look at the Brady brand NIL deal. You could say money where your mouth is, and money does talk. And when you look at the relationship, when you look at the money aspect of it, when you look at all of the just putting it out there that Brady and Shedeur are clearly having a great relationship, that matters to Mark Davis. And Mark Davis and Shedeur's relationship is spectacular. I mean, the amount of times that Dion and Shedeur have met with Mark Davis, it's quite a bit of times, right? The most recent is Shedeur is in Las Vegas, shakes hand with Mark Davis, and he kind of makes a joke about, oh, like you could be home again. That matters a lot. Mark Davis loves Shedeur Sanders, and Mark also loves money, and there's nobody that's going to be able to bring more money to this organization than Shedeur in terms of the draft. Max Crosby loves Shedeur. Last week, Max Crosby said, I don't think people know that Shedeur is my guy. The quarterback that Max Crosby wants on the Raiders is Shedeur Sanders. And then there was a lot of reports, Dion potentially being able to force Shedeur to go to Las Vegas or go to certain teams. I'm telling y'all right now, as accurate as what we were around Jaden Daniels last season, and it was true. The Raiders tried to get Jaden. Jaden was the number one option. But unlike Jaden, he don't have the last name of Sanders. And Shedeur, because of his family connections, because of the power that Shedeur and Dion have, I do think that, I don't want to say no matter what, the Raiders got to be in the top 5. I think no matter what, the Raiders are going to be in the top 5, especially when you look at a few of the other teams that are sitting there in front of us. Hell, the Titans and the Jags, they still got to play each other 2 more times. I'm telling you right now, if the Raiders have a top 5 pick, lock it in. Shedeur Sanders will be this team's next quarterback. So out of all the news that we talked about today, we talked about Michael Mayer coming back. We talked about Shedeur Sanders and the hype growing around him coming to Las Vegas, how Desmond Ridder is expected to start. So I want y'all to grade the news today. You know what? I don't really get to give many A's out and for Raiders news anymore. And Michael Mayer returning, Shedeur the hype train, him coming to Las Vegas, Desmond Ridder starting. I don't know if it's Christmas a little bit early here on November 12th, or maybe it's just that I made a wish on 11/11 yesterday, but a lot of good stuff is happening here around the Raiders. And I don't know if it's going to impact them winning this football game this week. Quite frankly, I don't even know if I care if the Raiders win this game. They're 2-7. Probably the best thing is to just tank, baby. But it's just the fact that when you hear good news and you can smile when you watch the Raiders report, when you can smile when you hear something about the Raiders, it means a lot to me because I'm in this shit every single day. And I think for a lot of the real ones out there, they can agree. Even though we're 2-7, getting some good news puts a smile on your face.